Wonderful to see everybody here. My name is Ed Hermes. I'm the president of the Osborne School District Governing Board. We have just a bit of work we have to do as a governing board. You get to see in action a little bit before we go into what I think a lot of people are probably here for, which is the recognition for a lot of our wonderful staff and awardees here today. But first, before we get into that, and before we even do our Pledge of Allegiance, we're going to go ahead and have our required public hearing for the purpose of discussion of revisions of the 2023-24 budget. Colleen, I know you don't have a podium. Would you like me? Oh no, I guess we do over here. Thank you so much. It's just not in the normal spot.
Good evening. So this is our final budget revision for the current school year, the 23-24 school year. It's required to be done by May 15th, so tomorrow. It's to realign our itemized expenditure budget with that of ADE authorization based on current year funding, what our 100-day ADM came in as well as all of those additional categories that students are weighted in that generate those funding and the funding formula. There's an attachment in the packet because this will be actually an action item later on during the regular meeting. The attachment goes through the changes that were made in comparison to the adopted budget that was adopted by the governing board in July. Those changes compared to what was adopted, again, are really due to current year funding and current year ADM. We had projected ADM of 2,267 students, and that actually was a reduction based on current year. We had some decline, a small decline again. And so it's actually 82 students less than what was adopted in July. And then that flows through all of the funding formula. But there's also some additional amounts that weren't accounted for at the time that we adopted our budget in July that were some one-time dollars. Part of that is due to carry forward. The district's fiscal year doesn't officially end with its encumbrance period and transactions until the end of August. And so the time that we build the AFR in October is when we really know what that final carry forward number is. And so we saw growth in that number compared to what was projected at time of adoption in July. So overall, the final budget revision represents a change of 1.1 million additional, or an increase compared to what was adopted in July. And you can see how that also compares to the latest revision that was done by this board in December. And that's around an additional 250,000 increase from what was approved in December. Are there any questions on the final revision for the year?
I don't see anything. This is time set for public hearing as well. Do we have any comments from anybody signed up for the public on this topic?
No.
Thank you so much, Colleen. Really appreciate it. We look forward to bringing you back up for that agenda. Thank you so much. Okay. This is a little bit of our board work here. Now we're going to go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you stand for the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now as we do every meeting, we will do our land acknowledgement statement. Arizona is home to 22 tribal nations. The Osborne School District is situated on the homeland of the Accomail, O'odham, and Teposh people. Osborne School District recognizes the original inhabitants of these lands and recognizes they still reside throughout the city of Phoenix. We recognize their wisdom, impact, and generosity towards us. Osborne School District is surrounded by the original Salt River canals that were constructed by the ancestral Sonoran Desert people of the Hohoba. These canals created a livelihood for the people and are still in use today. We acknowledge the modern indigenous people that inhabited this area, as well as their Sonoran Desert ancestors, the Hohoba. And we will move right into district celebrations and announcements. Dr. Robert.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Osborne School District. For anybody that is new here, that is family or visitors that hasn't been in our buildings before, My name is Michael Robert, Superintendent of the Osborne School District. We are very happy to have you here to celebrate with us. I was just talking with one of our principals before about we're at the back end of our bookends of our most joyous opportunities to come together as a district. We begin every school year in August. Our first governing board meeting is where we're introducing our brand new staff. And it's always a fun night having principals and directors come up and introduce new staff, fresh new faces that are in the district. And then on this last day, we get to celebrate a few things. Number one, we celebrate longevity. People that have been spending long periods of their career. Tonight, we're going to celebrate individuals that have spent 20, 25, and 30 years of their career here in the Osborne School District. We're also going to recognize and celebrate some retirees, people that have worked their career, are at the end of it, but we're here as community to encourage them and welcome them into the next phase of their life as they move on from this working world here in Osborne. We also have our one of our local celebrations that we have that not only, we've got our Teacher of the Year celebration that we do in October, but that teachers are a huge part of the Osborne School District, but not the entirety. In fact, less than half of the employees in the Osborne School District are teachers. We have an award that is the You Make the Difference Award, and it's open to all staff members, community members, parents, are all people that make a difference here in the Osborne School District community. So we'll kind of close out our celebrations by celebrating our You Make the Difference Award winners. So to start us off in this, there was a wonderful spread. How many of you guys got a bite to eat? I'd like to welcome in, yes, we can most certainly applaud some of the folks, but I'd like to welcome our Child Nutrition Director, Corey Alexander. He's going to come on in and just talk with us. Not just Corey, but come on in. You guys can head up to the main microphone, and they're going to share with us what it was that you were able to partake in tonight.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed the food and the drinks. We like to every year for these beginning and board meetings, to showcase our program and the many talents that we have on our team. So it's kind of a mixture. We have a manager making cookies and agua fresca, but this year I really wanted to showcase a new person that we have on our team, nutrition education and celebrity chef contractor who was with us, and so the spread was her idea. She came with an idea and said, "This is what I want to make, and here's how we're going to do it." And Teresa said, "Okay, let's go." Teresa Maza is the one that made all that food, pretty much. I mean. I especially wanted to introduce her because she is in the schools doing nutrition education. She's a dietitian and she is a chef. And so as we move into next school year, we're really trying to promote that within our schools. And this was a great opportunity to showcase her. So thank you very much. This is
Teresa, before you leave, you want to just share just what was on the menu for tonight?
So we had a cucumber salad. The three of us all went to dinner one night and got cucumber salad from Bacanora, and we were obsessed. So we tried to do a little copycat for that. We had a peach bruschetta with some cream cheese that had some orange zest in there and some local chives. We had a great couple grazing boards out there with some local flowers from a couple of the local farms here. We had a lotte corn pasta salad. And some, lots of cookies.
Woo! And one more thing, Teresa actually made the marshmallow that was on top of the cupcake. She made it by scratch, and so I was really. You're gonna make it.
Wow, they're really, really good. They're really, really good.
Thanks so much, Corey. And we're going to get into our celebrations. So we're going to start the evening celebrating those that have longevity here within the district. So those that have completed 20 years of service here in the Osborne School District. And I'm going to be calling up principals, directors to introduce the members. So we're going to start with Maria Garcia.
Yes. Good evening, President of the board members, Dr. Robert. Today we gather to celebrate our educators who have dedicated, well, in Maria's case, 2 decades. I know it sounds like a lot. It's a long time, 2 decades. Don't say that, but it's needed. You know, she's been at Encanto helping us uplift our school in our journey of excellence. Maria embodies our core values. Her distinct way of approaching situations and then also supports are very remarkable. I want to just tell a brief story of when I met Maria, and then I'm going to ask part of her team to come up and say some kind words about her. So I was a first-year principal at Encanto School. This was 7 years ago. Wow. And so Maria was part of the leadership team. And I show up with my little agenda, and I'm ready to present. And Maria asked she asked a question. And it was a question that got me thinking, like, I need to step up my game as a school leader, because in this leadership team are very efficacious educators that expect only excellence. And due to Maria's leadership, she's helped me grow as a leader, and I would not be the leader that I am today without her guidance and mentorship. So muchas gracias. And I want to invite some of her colleagues and mentees as well to come and share some thoughts. So, Mr. Hernandez.
Hello, how's everyone doing? I just want to say a few words about Maria. This is my 2nd year here. I just moved here from Texas last year, and it's been really fun, exciting, and I honestly don't think I can be here without Maria. I call Maria like my mom here because she just really teaches me and like there for me every day, every morning. Everyone on our team, everyone in our school. She's really a voice for all of us, within the kids, within the parents, within the staff, everyone. And when I sit back and think like, wow, what does 20 years, what does 30 years look for, like in this district, look in this school, I look to Maria and I see something that's feasible, and I see like, you know what, I think I can do that. I want to be her when I grow up, and she really inspires me to be such a great person. 25, you know, we're good. But yes, I think, again, embodies our core values, lives everything daily, never gives up, never stops, and is always there when you need someone, and really just enjoying and peaceful. So I'm really thankful to have Maria in my life and my school.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Felipe, can you check to see if the microphone's on there? On the back side, there's a... All right. Up next, we're going to celebrate Beth Burkich. Beth, you got to join him up there.
Please.
That's
for you, Ms. Market.
So it's important to note this is my first year here. I blame all my fellow principals for not letting me know that I should have flowers in my hands, but they will be on site tomorrow, I promise you. Beth Burkich, what an amazing teacher. Again, first year for myself over at Longview and getting to know everybody. Beth was one of the first people that I got to see, and everything about you made me go, okay, I can do this. I can do this. It's interesting, if you want to find Beth during the workday, it's going to be wherever kids are. She's never without children. I think that's so special. There's been times where I'm like, you understand, this is your lunch break. but she'd rather have the children close to her.
Oh.
The relationships she builds with our families is just absolutely beautiful. The trust and the love and the respect. You want to talk about integrity? She embodies integrity. If you want to find Beth after 3 o'clock, don't look for her at home because she's going to be at school. And so she is a highly dedicated educator to the point where I am talking to custodians about, after you make sure all the doors are locked, can you make sure that Beth is leaving as well? Because she is never quite ready to give up on the work that needs to be done. So for all of that, Beth, I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. You're an amazing human being and an amazing professional educator. Thank you.
I just want to say this district, when I came here, I had just moved here from Ohio. In fact, Wilma, we had that in common because she was from Ohio. And I was with the district for 13 years, and then I had relocated to Peoria. And I thought, and I was I'd done behavior, and I needed a break from that. And then I thought, let's try and get closer to home. And I went to Peoria, and I found my way back to Longview because it is truly a family. The Osborne district is it is the best kept secret in Phoenix, and I love the district because it's small. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody supports everybody, and I just brag to people out in Peoria, like, you're missing it. You got to go to Phoenix. So, thank you.
We love to hear that. Thank you.
And next, we would like to celebrate Sarah Size.
Good evening, members of the governing board, President Hermes, Dr. Robert. It is an absolute pleasure to recognize Sarah Size and her 20-year career here at OMS. I don't know OMS without Sarah, and Sarah, it just exudes greatness. And for those of you that have never been in her classroom to see her teach, it's just an experience. She's wonderful at creating relationships with kids, and that leads to the growth that she's able to create with them. And so those are the two things I want to focus on with Sarah, is just that idea of growth and relationships. In addition to that, her work ethic. She's at OMS before I get there. She leaves after I leave, and so she just puts her heart and soul into everything that she does. Growth that Sarah attains is phenomenal. It's world class, to be honest with you. Every year her kids grow through the roof and make tons of growth beyond that year's growth. And so we're just so proud of that with Sarah. And I think the reason that growth happens is because of the relationship she creates with her kids. Every time you go to see Sarah's class, she's talking to every single one of them, checking in. How is your homework? How are you doing? Just how are we doing? It's just having that personal connection with them is huge, and they will work for her. They'll run through buildings for her to be able to get that work done. And so it's just been an absolute pleasure to call you a colleague and a friend. And so big shout out to Sarah Size and her 20 years at Osborne Middle School.
All right, up next from our Child Nutrition Department, Aurelia Rocha.
Well, it's a pleasure to acknowledge you on 20 years here at Osborne. For those of you who don't know, Aurelia is the cook at our busiest kitchen. So we have one of our kitchens that serves actually 3 different schools, and it's no small feat to be a cook to serve roughly 1,000 meals. And she's been doing it for years on end. She started in Osborne at Encanto and moved her way up within a few years. And for the last roughly 7 years, maybe 7 years or 8 years. Yep. She's been a cook there and doing a fantastic job. And so it's an honor as the director to be a part of a team that has been with each other for so long. And your exemplary example of what it is to be a good teammate. And we really appreciate your dedication to our students and the Child Nutrition Department in Osborne.
And Corey's not going anywhere because we are also recognizing from the Child Nutrition Department for 20 years of service, Jennifer Houston.
So another awesome team member and coworker that I have is Jen. So Jen, her history is cashier for 1 year at Encanto, and then she moved to Solano where she was a cashier, and then quickly became manager. And she has been manager ever since at Solano. I can't say enough about her dedication to the students. Jennifer knows the kids by name. She knows what they eat, what they like, what they don't like, if they're vegetarian or dietary restrictions. Her cafeteria is always decorated and inviting, just to make that space, an awesome space for the kids to be. Because, one of the best times of the school day, I think, is lunch, right? So, you want it to be inviting. And Jen just does an awesome job of that. And so your dedication to the students, again, our team and Osborne is awesome. And I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a part of our team.
20 years is a long time to work in one place. 25 is even more. So let's move on to 25 years of service here in Osborne. But before we do, a big round of applause once again for all of our 20-year employees. From Longview, Genoveva Reyes Zavala. She is not here. Do you still want to go up and share?
Sure. So Genoveva's not here, so I will tell her that I had flowers here for her this evening. You all can help me with that. No, seriously, she works with our community pre-K. It takes a special human being to work with our littles and understand the importance of making sure that we're giving them access to that education as well as the social side and the social emotional support. She is a dedicated employee. She also was able to retire and then come back, so I'm very envious of that whole retirement piece. But she's an amazing woman who is highly dedicated to our school and even more so dedicated to our students and our families. So thank you so much.
And she's actually set to be called up twice tonight because one of those golden apples is hers on her retirement.
Wow.
And for 25 years from Osborne Middle School, Griselda Norsagaray.
Griselda Nozargrai has been a wonderful coworker and partner in crime. And I say that because when I get to work every single day, Griselda is there with a smile on her face. And she welcomes every single person that comes into our office with a smile. And so the focus really for you, Griselda, is relationships and integrity. Students, parents, and staff love Griselda. We have students talking with her at lunchtime, coming to her for help. We have parents calling me, may I talk with Miss Zagaray, please? So she's always just helping everyone, and then staff, like she's there to do whatever it is we need for her to do whenever we need her to do it with a smile on her face. I rely on you so much, and I appreciate everything you've done for us. The other piece is integrity. She does what's right and does it every day, whether no one's watching or with everyone's watching. And I just appreciate the commitment you have to our school and to our front office and the pride that you have in it. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with you here at OMS. Congratulations on your 25 years, Griselda.
You know, there's a definite theme here tonight. We've heard from our child nutrition staff, for the wonderful spread that came out for us. We celebrated 20 years with 2 members. Now we're moving on to 30 years. And when we have that many years of service to, in child nutrition, that, feeding our kids for 30 years, I want to welcome Corey back, because we are here now as we move on to 30 years to celebrate Cindy Ruelas.
Dedication and the amount of time that you've put into this, to this job in this department is amazing. Cindy, so I'm going to try to get it right. So Cindy started at Longview. Is that,
No.
What's Solano? Okay, Solano. So she started at Solano, but she has made her way around to every school within the district and every position within child nutrition. She's been a baker, a cook, she's been a cashier, and she's now assistant manager, and she's managing our new program over at Montecito. Thank you so much for your dedication for 30 years. It's amazing. You're amazing. You're always giving your heart, you care about the students. Again, another person within our department that knows their students, knows what they like to eat, knows even, what they're not going to like, and, kind of forecast that too to mitigate, any tears, right, with the little guys. Yeah, so, but we really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we'd like to call up Maria Ledesma. Well, Maria's not here, but Sam is. So Sam, you have some words for us.
Yes, absolutely. It's my pleasure to celebrate the dedication that Maria has presented to our time to the district, Osborne School District. I kind of went through Maria's evaluation because I've only been in the district for a year, and trying to get a better understanding of Maria. Worked with her this past year and understanding that she is fully committed to making sure that the school is safe and clean for students and staff on a daily basis. And it's just one of those things that it's hard to get a hold of Maria because she's always around the campus trying to take care of the needs of our staff at Longview. And I really appreciate the work that she puts in, and too bad she couldn't make it today, but I appreciate everything she's done for the district.
From Solano School, Alice Patterson.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to stand here with Alice Patterson on her 30 years. It's also bittersweet. I don't want to get emotional when I think about the fact that people are also, retiring and moving on, and she is one of them. And for years, when I was at Clarendon, I was always one of her biggest fans as an art teacher. I told her that when I first came. And since I've gotten there, there's not anything that I've asked her to do that she's never said no to. And our days are not always easy, but she's really amazing, at teaching kids how to be an artist and what it is to have the artistic talents. And she teaches them to do that when I'm there. I can't help but want to do the art with her and the kids. It's a happy place. And so I thank you for the year that I got to be there with you. And I know that all those from before us, our kids, our community, adore and love you. And so as we celebrate her today, we also wish her luck on her next journey. So thank you. And she's out there every morning greeting the kids at drop off. She's with us after school with her umbrella, helping them get through the park. And so I just thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.
So this is a all right, and from Longview School, we talk about, or they talk about being a peanut butter and jelly together, but they're also two wonderful individuals, and so they may not want to be separated, but we're going to separate you. And no? You're saying no? You want to go up there together? Okay, so for 30 years of service, I'd like to bring up together Carol Sandoval and Elaine Markser.
Wow.
I wanted you guys to get your flowers on your own, but you insist on going together. So here it is.
No, I thought you ordered them for us. Again, the flowers will be there tomorrow. No, this is the perfect symbol right here. So again, first year at Longview, this is exactly how I met each of them together. I was quickly informed that I should get to know you as peanut butter and jelly. I was going to play the song, but I was afraid it was one of the inappropriate songs, so I'll just have all the kindergartners sing Peanut Butter Jelly to you tomorrow. But in all seriousness, individually, I just want to thank you so much for everything that you do for Longview. You know all of the families. It's amazing to me how you know all of the families, not just our current families, but the grandparents and cousins, and you could tell me who's related to whom, and just the history of the building itself. You have been an immense help to me in my first year because you've been able to guide me through certain areas and times of the year, but more than anything, what I see is whenever there's a need, Elaine, you always find a way to fill it, especially for our families and our children, but for anyone who enters that campus. So thank you for everything that you do individually and as a pair. I don't know. You ask them. Would you like those presented to you individually or at the same time? At the same time. And then in meeting the two of them, I realized one of them had a Green Bay Packers thing, so I was trying to figure out which one I was going to steer clear of. But in all seriousness, Carol, I love that we get to have the banter between the Lions and Green Bay, but way beyond that, it goes back to very similar. Your knowledge of our kiddos, your knowledge of where they live, what they're going through, the support that they need, their knowledge of our staff and helping meet any needs that they have, and also able to help support me as I, bumble my way through the year. I just greatly appreciate everything you do for our community, for our families, for our staff, and for our kiddos. It's been an absolute honor to work for both of you. Thank you. Yeah, and I come running when you're here. That's right. That's right. Thank you both so much.
No. Thank you, sweetie. Don't start crying. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
So 30 years is a tremendously long time. We're very grateful. You know, when I think of Longview, it really is a generational school. You know, more so, it's our oldest school. But, you know, when you talk about knowing the families and knowing, you know, back and back and back, that's the way Longview is. It's just a place that generation after generation continue coming to that campus. As we move into our retirements, we have a couple retirees that aren't here. As we already mentioned, Genoveva is not here from Longview. Also, Liz Loyola retired this year, and she started her time in Osborne over at Encanto and has moved around with the special ed program that she's been working with, and tirelessly has given so many years to Osborne. And so we wish Liz well in retirement. Ms. Nikolic, I don't know if you guys are going to come back up again, but one of our 30-year honorees is also a retiree. So first, Lisa, can you model our apple for us or show it off for us?
Ooh.
So upon retirement, this apple, and on it is an engravement of name and years of service to the Osborne School District. So we want to call back up, even though we just recognized her for 30 years of service, we want to recognize Alice Patterson on her retirement from Osborne. Yes, you do, Ms. Nikolic.
So I don't know, I've already said many things, but I just want you all to know she's amazing, and she's gonna come back and volunteer and continue to teach me art.
And Teresa, don't go anywhere, or maybe, gotcha. We're gonna bring Miss Nikolic back up because our final retiree for the evening is from Solano this past year and earlier, and that's Mary Pruch.
I have been a fan of fruit cheese for years as well. I think I tried to poach her for a long time from Longview, and I never got her till I came back to Solana. I almost did that one year. But I was very fortunate that we had an open position in the office, and Mary had sent me a text. She was like, I'm retiring, but hey, maybe I could come over for a year and help you out. And I was like, and so she joined me on board, and she really has been a right hand. She welcomes everyone in. When we talk about people taking care of people, I mean, that's why I tried to poach her for so long, is because she really does welcome everybody in and take care of everybody. So I'm going to miss you, but I also know there's many people in this room that are going to miss her. She's a legend. She's the bomb. So thank you.
And that brings us to our You Make the Difference Award winners for this year. So every year, this is open to staff members, community members can nominate individuals for the You Make the Difference Award. We normally celebrate in between 4 and 6 people. This year we have 6 recipients of the You Make the Difference Award. And so I'm going to begin, and I'll ask you to come right up here and stand in the front. Let's start with Crystal Rodriguez. Crystal, I'm going to read to you from the nomination for why you were nominated. I love the sign. We love you. I'm going to read to you from the nomination for this. It's my pleasure to nominate Ms. Crystal Rodriguez for the You Make the Difference Award for her outstanding support to my classroom and the Longview Elementary School community. Ms. Rodriguez is a strong supporter of public education, teachers, and the dual language program at my school. She told me one of the reasons why she enrolled her son, Fernando, at Longview is because we offer a dual language program. I met Ms. Rodriguez during COVID when I offered a conversational Spanish class online for parents. Now I have the honor to teach her son in 2nd grade. Ms. Rodriguez fulfills every aspect of the criteria to receive this award. First, Ms. Rodriguez is a strong and positive supporter of the district. She drives her son to Longview because she likes the district. She's well informed about all we have to offer, and she's contemplating being part of the PTO as soon as the opportunity arrives. Ms. Rodriguez often takes time off from work to be a chaperone for field trips and to help with events at school, such as the Superhero Fun Run. Beyond that, she brings water bottles and snacks for the whole class and every field trip and event. Ms. Rodriguez shows commendable relationships with students, staff, and other parents. For example, she volunteered to read stories to my class and other classes during the Read for America week. My class loved the story 1 and 2 by Catherine Otoshi she read to them. In addition, she's considering an activity with our librarian, Ms. Montoya, to create literature circles in 4th grade. Ms. Rodriguez and her son brought distinction to our school by raising more than $1,000 for our last fundraiser.
I like this one.
Certainly, Ms. Rodriguez has made a difference this year for Longview Elementary. She inspires me as I work to deliver quality instruction and for the rest of the school. By volunteering with the Student Council and all their events, Ms. Rodriguez demonstrates continuous personal and professional growth. Last, these are the words that Ms. Elias in 1st grade has to say about Ms. Rodriguez. Helpful, always volunteers even when it requires being outside all day. Supportive, proactive, brings great ideas. For all the above reasons, and because Ms. Rodriguez is a generous, caring, and positive parent, I highly recommend Ms. Crystal Rodriguez for the You Make the Difference recognition. Congratulations, Crystal.
Oh. Thank you.
You know, just for the sake of this and for handing out the awards, I'm going to move over there.
Please do.
I really wanted to bring my plate over so I could eat. Our second You Make the Difference award winner is Zachary Jensen. Zach, come on up. before I read from the actual nomination, just wanted to read some words that Jamal sent me. Jamal had to say, we're fortunate to have a help desk technician like Zach, who joined us 4 years ago. Everyone loves the way he treats, trains, and explains solutions to them. He assigns and resolves tickets. He researches and finds technical solutions for the department. He also provides technical help to our students at home. He's a hardworking employee that's making the difference every day. And your nomination read as follows. I'm choosing to nominate Zachary because he is always very supportive, helpful, and kind. He goes out of his way to show you tips and takes time to explain how he solves problems and requests to help others in the future. Zach is quick to remind us when we're at risk of not being in compliance with federal regulations or other things we may not be fully aware of in the workplace. Zach is my go-to in the IT department and is always a pleasure to work with. I have to say, besides the things that those individuals said, being here in the district office, I hate to not follow protocol, because protocol says that you fill out a ticket first, and then it gets resolved. But sometimes I can't help it, and there are some things I got to do in my job, and I can't wait. And I know I can go to Zach, and he'll come down to my office and not just solve the problem, but help you understand why it was there and things that you can do to not come across that problem in the future too. Zach, you're so super helpful in resolving issues for us and educating us and helping to keep us safe here within the district. You know, the thing that was mentioned in here about being in compliance, you know, Jamal with his entire team has been working very hard this year on cybersecurity and things that are real threats to this district. And it takes expertise among his staff, and Zach is most certainly leading the way among the technical support that we have here within the district and is making a difference for us all here in Osborne. Congratulations, Zach. Our third You Make the Difference Award winner is a community member, and I would like to welcome up Kathy Hoffman. Woo! Hi. After completing her term as Superintendent of Public Instruction, whom we still miss in that role.
Yes.
Kathy reached out and let me know that as a member of the public living here within the Osborne School District, she would love to remain in service to the K-12 education world in the local district where her daughter would one day attend. In the spring of 2023, when the governing board voted to move forward with an election for a bond and district additional assistance override, Kathy stepped forward and volunteered to chair the Move Osborne Forward Political Action Committee. Among the first of the responsibilities of the leadership was securing funding to support the campaign, and then engaging the assistance of Osborne community members, administration, teachers association members, and staff to canvass our neighborhoods for the initiatives. Once a committee was formed, weekly activities were planned throughout the fall to assure the community that their continued assistance and support was a priority and necessity. Kathy was able to mobilize a community, call upon community leaders, and rally the troops to secure a victory at 75% approval for both the bond and district additional assistance override.
Yes.
To put numbers to it, the impact of Kathy's organization and effort will be $110.5 million infused into Osborne capital projects over the next 8 years. This will help update our facilities and curriculum, increase property values for Osborne area residents, provide 21st century school and classroom environments to be enjoyed by Osborne's children and community for years to come. In her capacity as an educational leader, Kathy was a staunch advocate for Osborne and Arizona children. As a community member, Kathy has contributed to spearheading a campaign that will continue to make Osborne School District a destination district for Central Phoenix. Kathy, in years before, but most especially this year directly to Osborne, makes a difference. Congratulations.
Woo!
And next, I would like to welcome Mrs. Valencia. You got more than one nomination for this award, Mrs. Valencia. So I'm going to read to you a couple things, okay? Mrs. Valencia demonstrates excellence in her position because she goes above and beyond to help all staff and students succeed however she can. You can tell she values her relationships with our Encanto family and truly supports Osborne. She's joined the Encanto leadership team to represent the classified staff and is taking on a mentor role for our other instructional assistants. When asked for help, Mrs. Valencia is there. When asked for advice, Mrs. Valencia is there. When fun activities are needed to be prepped, Mrs. Valencia is there. When the students are celebrating accomplishments, Mrs. Valencia is there. When our team needs to build relationships by celebrating each other, Mrs. Valencia is there. When we need delicious food at our potlucks, Mrs. Valencia is there. Mrs. Valencia is one of many reasons that Encanto is a family. To go on with another nomination, I've known Ana for almost 10 years, and every year she continues to amaze me in what she does. When I first started working at Encanto, Ana was one of the individuals that helped me grow and learn the ropes of what it was to be a kindergarten aide. She's demonstrated tremendous growth in her field since I've known her. Her experience shows in her professionalism, enthusiasm, and love for her job every day. Ana is a leader among her fellow coworkers who look up to her for advice and guidance. I can trust her to lead my class if I were ever to need to be absent, as she has the experience and knowledge the students need. This school year has been like no other, and on many occasions, Ana was asked to step out of her comfort zone and successfully accomplish what was asked of her. Our families are always praising and thanking her for such great work that she does with our students, and I cannot be more thankful. Ana's demonstrated outstanding qualifications in her role in the classroom. The students love her and enjoy working with her every day during small group interventions or on a small art project. I'm not only happy to work with her every day and trust her with my class, but glad to call her my friend. You know, at Encanto School this year, Mrs. Valencia is, I believe, the first instructional assistant to serve on the school leadership team, leading those educational efforts forward. Many reasons, Mrs. Valencia, you make the difference in Osborne. Our next nominee, or not nominee, but recipient of the You Make the Difference Award winner is Dr. Emerald Woodland. Ready for this? All right. I'm going to read to you from your nomination, all right? I would like to nominate Dr. Woodland for the You Make the Difference Award for the many ways she makes a difference, not only in her role as HR director, but for the inspiration and encouragement she's provided to so many through her years at Osborne. When I first met Dr. Woodland, she was a teacher working in a special education classroom. Later, I had the pleasure of working down the hall from her when she left the classroom to become a grant writer for the district. What I noticed at that time was that she was not just great in this role, but she took time to offer support and encouragement to others. Later, Dr. Woodland became the HR director, and she hit the ground running. The team she brought together has grown together and creates a welcoming presence for job seekers and current staff that have questions related to all things HR. Dr. Woodland has used her talents to ensure equity, demonstrate leadership, build relationships, and looks for opportunities for growth, not only for herself, but for others. Her calm, caring demeanor gives space for open discussion and resolution. Her commitment to bringing her best to the table is a model of her leadership and commitment to service. It's been a pleasure watching her grow as she's transitioned into various roles, bringing with her experiences that help her find even more ways to serve the Osborne community. Thank you for your consideration of recognizing Dr. Emerald Woodland for the difference she makes to the Osborne community. I am. And Marina Wright is our final. I'm not going to read everything that was written because there were so many nominations that came in for you. Long time. So I'm going to read in entirety one of the nominations. Preschool, literally the baby of Osborne School District. To the casual observer, preschool looks like painting, snacks, and naps, which of course those things happen. But more importantly, the Osborne School District has been working diligently since 2016 to give our youngest children the foundational skills they need to enter kindergarten on solid ground, academically and emotionally. No one has worked harder at building this program than Solano community preschool teacher Marina Wright. Marina consistently strives to provide children with learning experiences and opportunities they would not otherwise receive. She doesn't shy away from big activities and hands-on learning and cultural activities, adventures in the real world for her children, knowing that they will take these lessons and memories and carry them throughout their academic years. She builds trusting relationships with her children and families to help ensure that the program and learning she provides is high quality and well-rounded. Marina epitomizes what it means to be an early childhood educator in the Osborne School District. In fact, last year, while the Arizona Department of Education was visiting preschool sites, they noted that Marina had, and this quotes, a model classroom that all other programs should come and see. Last March, Marina was awarded the highest school achievable and the highest in Osborne School District history to date in regards to quality first assessments by scoring a 5-star highest quality program based on 2 rigorous assessments and roughly 40 criteria. Her dedication to meet those standards does not go unnoticed by members within the Osborne School District community and beyond. I wish all members of our school community could bear witness to the magic that happens in the classroom. Teaching in both English and Spanish is no small feat, but Marina does it with natural ease and ability and in a way that excites the children to experiment and learn a new language. Mm-hmm. Her encouragement and dedication is remarkable, but not surprising. Marina truly makes a difference in the Osborne Community Preschool Program. I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to work with her and learn from her as she continues to transform the lives of her children as they move into our district schools. And so for that and many other reasons on the other nominations that I couldn't get to, Marina Wright makes the difference here in the Osborne School District.
Got it. Got it.
3 quick other celebrations that I want to make note of before we take a break. The first of those is that we just found out that we are the recipients of preschool grants. So that wonderful work that's being done. And on these first 2 things, I want Stephanie to stand up. Stephanie Sotomayor.
Yeah.
Woo! Prepared the PDG grants for us, and it's bringing in how much?
Wow.
Dollars?
Wow.
The second thing to celebrate, and Stephanie played a huge role in making this happen. And you guys were invited and saw all the beautiful trees that were planted. More than 100 trees planted on the around the Osborne School District was just fantastic. So I just want to thank Stephanie for doing that and for making our district so beautiful. And the last piece, is Corey still here or is he cleaning? Is he out there? Tell Corey to come in here for a second. Hey there. Got this notice from the Arizona Department of Education. Once again, it is their pleasure to congratulate Osborne School District on the receipt of the Gold Tier Farm Fresh Challenge following their participation in the Health and Nutrition Services Program Year 2024 Farm Fresh Challenge. And so come on up, Corey. Another wonderful watermelon for us to celebrate. This is the 3rd year running that you guys have gotten this, right?
Yeah, we've decided to do it every year. So.
And it composes of 3 parts. There's an education part, there is a connection part where they're spreading the word, and then there's the creation of meals that is using locally sourced materials. Did I get all 3 components?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, perfect.
All right, thank you. Board members and community, those are our celebrations for this evening.
That's wonderful. We're going to take a quick recess to probably get a couple photos. I was going to recognize. Yes, of course, Sue. I was about to recognize. We have such a wonderful district, and it's just amazing to see just the passion and the love that's in this room. And I wanted to recognize one of our former colleagues here on the board, who I had a wonderful opportunity to serve with, Sue Corbin, who really epitomizes that just longevity and love for the district. Sue was a student here, we won't say when, and she worked here in the district. And then she came back and served the district. And I think I look at our retirees, and I just want to tell all of you retirees, you're always welcome here in the Osborne district. Just like Sue came back from working here and served on the board for many years to serve our wonderful community, everyone's always welcome back here in the Osborne district, Sue. And if you know Sue, if you've been around the district, certainly the folks who've won the awards for 20, 25, 30 years do. Sue is always there for a celebration, and it's such an honor to have you here today, Sue, to celebrate once again, and you're always welcome here back in the Osborne School District. So thank you. Give it up for Sue Corbin. Yeah. And Sue, you're always an honorary board member here. Did you have something that you wanted to say? Of course. And I can maybe bring a microphone to you if you'd like.
It's probably pretty well said what I'm going to say, but when my mom and I moved here from Safford, Arizona, I started in Campbell School. It was in the 4th grade. All 3 of my children, kindergarten through 8th grade, here in Osborne. My youngest daughter was the first to attend Osborne Middle School. Thank you. the people that I knew, for example, my 8th grade teacher was Charles Whitecraft, and he became the principal at
I wouldn't know.
West High.
Yeah.
I'm not that old.
You were just here before me, Sue. That's all I was saying.
Okay, fine. Okay. Anyway, they were such sweet, loving people, teachers. And me being an only child, and my dad was killed in World War II. I never had a dad. But the teachers were so caring and loving. And one time I was kidnapped, and when I came into school, the teachers just all surrounded me with just positive things, not, oh my gosh, none of that stuff, just giving me the support that I needed. And this Osborne district, oh, I have to tell you, when I first was school board member, we went on a field trip with first graders at Encanto, and as we were going from the classroom out to get on the bus, this little boy that was with me, I said, I used to go to this school. And he says, what? And I said, well, actually, when I went to Encanto, where your playground is where our classes were. And our playground was in the back. And he says, how'd they do that? And I said, well, and he said, can we just go on our field trip? And I said, I think we should. Yeah, let's just do it. I'll just be quiet. But this district is it's part of my family because I've been here since I was in 4th grade with me and then my kids and then working in the district office and then working on the school board. It's part of my life, a very good part. And I really hope you all understand what a great, wonderful place you're working and the people you're working with. They're so real and so honest and so working hard to help the children grow and be strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue, and thank you to all the award recipients. I'm going to take a 5-minute recess so I can dry a few tears myself, and then we're going to come back to finish the work of the board. Brendan, is 5 minutes good? Okay, for 5 minutes.
30 minutes.
Okay, we are back. It's just a wonderful time. We are back and moving on with the rest of our agenda, moving on to consent agenda. Are there any questions or any items that anyone wants to pull off the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the consent agenda items do pass. Moving on next to the call to the public. Do we have anybody here?
No.
Nope. Thank you. And I know this meeting we do not have a board presentation, so we're going to move straight into administrative reports. Any questions on our administrative reports? Seeing none, I just will make a quick comment. We just love reading the administrative reports. There's so many cool things that are happening, some of which have already been mentioned here today, but I will mention one other one because Dr. Woodland got an award. I was very impressed with the retention rates. 91% retention rate for certified staff. I think that's phenomenal. Other really great retention rates, and just wanted to commend you, Dr. Woodland, commend all of our principals, commend everybody else who contributed to our superintendent and everyone else who contributed to those great retention rates. It's wonderful to see people staying in the district and see people getting awards for 20, 25, 30 years because they stay in the district. So that was it. And so moving on from administrative reports is our action items. First one is adoption of resolution opposing HCR 2060 by the Arizona legislature. I think a lot of people already know what this is and the harm and the importance to oppose it. But let me start by going to Dr. Robert.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, we all recognize that the protection of civil rights, the protection of liberties and security for anyone, not just in our school district, but we take stands to protect our community as well. Members that live in and around and contribute and are a part of our district community. The Senate did not hear this resolution, and they've pushed it off a week, but they're looking to have a vote on this by next Wednesday. We all know the awful effects that happen within our community, the huge level of distrust that happened many years back with SB 1070, and here we are revisiting. Even though we are sure that should something like this pass, the legality of it, just like 1070, would be questioned as the state doesn't necessarily have does not have the right to enforce federal regulations in this way. However, it is moving forward through our legislature, and this resolution is a resolution of opposition to HCR 2060, which will go in front of the Arizona legislature soon. Governing board members have seen the wording of this resolution, and it's been, there are other school districts that have taken this stance, and so this is your opportunity to raise your voices in on this resolution. So I'll open it to you.
Okay. Any questions or anything? Any comments? I suppose.
I'm really happy that we all agree and are coming together to pass this resolution. I have been in contact with board members from our other school districts, so Creighton, Phoenix South, Phoenix Union, and so we've all been discussing just how bad this would be as how bad it was when we had SB 1070, and not just not trust, and not finding that trust in the community, but the amount of families that left when SB 1070 was in place, and we definitely don't want that. We want to keep our community here, and we want to keep them safe. So I'm really happy that we all agree, and we've all signed the resolution, and we are ready to adopt it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Board Member Ramos. I just second that. And, a lot of us here were around when SB 1070 passed. We're saw the deleterious effects of it, fought it, and saw just the waste of resources that happened while the state unsuccessfully tried to protect it. And, we need to learn from that history. We need to not do this again. And, when we were all took our oath, we took an oath to protect our kids and to protect the U.S. Constitution. And the U.S. Constitution is clear that immigration is a federal issue and that is dealt with by the federal government. And our state needs to be focusing on, frankly, funding our public schools and focused on issues that is in the state's purview, like helping us as a public school district, not doing things like this, which would be very deleterious to our schools and our community. Any other questions or comments? Just go ahead.
As a governing board, I feel like we all come to this governing board and live in our community in ways that we want to help people. And in watching our legislature just deteriorate in the last several decades into people who are coming to work in the legislature who write bills to hurt people, it's really upsetting. And so I'm just really fortunate that as a governing board member, we can take a stand against this really hateful bill. It has no part. I don't want this in my state. I don't want this in my community. This is something that unequivocally has no place here in Arizona.
Here. Board Member Peralta.
I mean, I echo everything that's stated already. I remember being in middle school and walking out for SB 1070, walking out, I mean, not for it, but against it. Because, well, one, it could impact my family. My mother, granted she's now a citizen, she immigrated here legally originally. But knowing that fear that I had for not only her family members who still yet were here, but the risk they could take coming here. But I think this is the second or the third time, well, fourth time now, after we've been sued, that I've seen our state do something to attack all children in Arizona. I remember growing up and watching what happened in Tucson Unified and how they were told that they are the ones being racist by offering a Mexican American Studies class. And seeing this come back again, SB 1070 2.0, it's just like, why does our legislator not get the message? This does not belong here. We want to welcome people, not scare them away. So I'm glad that we're taking a stance against this, and I really do hope that if everything goes wrong and it somehow passes, that once again our students will rise up and be the ones to say, we don't want this. So I'm happy we're passing this.
Yep. Board Member Greenberg, do you want to say something as well?
Yeah, one of our fellow school districts, Phoenix Union, recently passed a resolution similar to this one. And one of their board members, when they were speaking about it, likened this to what happened during the Holocaust. And I just think it's crazy that we are in a state where we're trying to move forward and we're trying to make sure that our future is the best for our kids, but not everybody in this state feels that direction. We're not all on the same page. This is super hateful. We know that our immigrant families bring so much to our community. Without our immigrant families, like, we would not be the Arizona that we are today. And I'm talking about the positive things in Arizona. I'm heartbroken that this has come back. It felt like, we all want to feel like, hey, SB 1070, that was in the past. Like, we move forward. We're not going to do that again. We have Katie Hobbs is our governor. We're moving in the right direction. And then this stuff comes back up again, and it's like, we're still there. We're still working forward. So I do think that governing boards taking a stand in opposition of this is really important, because it shows that we're standing with our families and our students, and that we're here with you and we're here to protect you, and we care about you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. With that, unless there's any other comments or questions, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the adoption of the resolution opposing HCR 2060.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I'm going to ask this too because it's on the resolution. Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, it does pass with 5 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions. And thank you so much, Dr. Robert, for assisting with putting together the resolution language. We really appreciate that.
It'll be, with its adoption now, it'll be translated and put on district letterhead, and we'll get it on the website as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Moving on to our next item, which is approval of second review of our ASBA policy revisions. Dr. Robert?
Yes, I'll make this as quick as possible. You've already approved this as a first reading. When we went through, Member Greenberg, you had a question about JFA BDA, which is the admission of students in foster care. And the language on that talked about within 2 days, it's determined that a change in educational placement's in the best interest of the child. The new institution shall enroll the child. And you know, there was a question about whether or not there was an obligation on us that's outside of our control. So I got in touch with Arizona School Boards Association that put this together, and they made it very clear to me that it's the implication of the language is your level of responsibility as a district. So if you are the sending district, you have to, you know, you're limited in that amount of time to send the information, and then you can't be held responsible for whether or not the receiving district places students within the certain amount of time. Conversely, as a receiving district, if another district doesn't send you that paperwork within the specified days, you're not held accountable for that. So just wanted to give some clarity on that. If you make a motion to approve as presented, that also includes the not approving the IKF graduation requirements, which don't apply to an elementary school district. So with a motion to approve as presented, we would be able to put these in effect as the spreadsheet that you have indicates.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, hearing none, it does pass. Next is our discussion and approval of priorities for the 2025 ASBA political agenda. This is something we do every year. And we appreciate, I think it's Board Member Peralta's been representing us well at the ASBA for quite some time, it feels like.
I know it's not there yet, but I volunteer once again.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. We really appreciate your service on that. I think you have our priorities from last year. Unfortunately, not a lot has changed in our state in terms of, fully funding full-day kindergarten or getting rid of the aggregate expenditure limit, repealing ESAs. A lot of our priorities, despite us passing those priorities, haven't come to pass yet. So the world is somewhat similar to what it was last year, unfortunately. Dr. Robert, do you have anything you want to say before we kind of jump into the discussion here?
Ultimately, these are your priorities. There's a whole list, and we could spend hours talking about those, but we went through this pretty extensively, and nothing's really changed. So if those priorities still remain the same, we can leave them as is. One thing that I just wanted to mention in particular was one of the additional items that you had for consideration. The first one there, continue reforming ELL models and advocating for the repeal of Prop 203. That's something that was brought to the legislature in 2019, 2020, and then they lost the appetite for it as they weren't able to move it out of committee. That the repeal of Prop 203 is part of why our current superintendent of public instruction raised a lawsuit against us. We know that we're we know where we are in terms of that thrown out lawsuit.
Yeah, we won.
However,
just want to be clear for the record, we won.
Yes. However, I don't think that we should give up on the fight for the repeal of Prop 203. It is still on the books that Arizona is the only state with restrictive English-only requirements, and something needs to be done about that. I think the legislature, I would encourage you to move that up into your top 5, but these are your top 5, but that's been number 1 on my list in terms of advocacy work that I've had to, I've been involved in that advocacy for a long time, but it's dominated the work this year, so.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, I hear you there. It's the only difficulty is having to bump one of the 5 that we have. I mean, they're all very
Understood, yeah.
they're all very good.
If I may offer, being
Go
that
ahead.
I'm there every year when we make these,
Please.
I think mainly because it's going to be a fight until it changes. But if we really want to make Prop 203, which is something we should do, the repeal of it, one of our top priorities, I think it's easy just to bump down amending the constitutional aggregate expenditure limit. Because that's going to be a fight every year. Other districts will have that up there. I think if we can send a message to Osborne like, hey, we really want this one here. That's just my 2 cents, knowing that, I mean, every year we go through this list extensively with ASBA, and it's always a massive riot. It's a lot of fun. Some people get really angry over things. So I think we bump that one up and we fight for it.
I appreciate you going. I appreciate the feedback for somebody who is there fighting for us at the ASBA. The aggregate expenditure limit, we just went through and talked about our bond rating and bond. I mean, that's something that comes up in our bond rating. I mean, this is a state literally shooting itself and shooting our taxpayers in the foot by having a completely arbitrary expenditure limit for schools of all things, and it hurts our. I think it has a negative impact on our bond rating, which means it has an impact on our ability to borrow at a more cheap rate, and it is literally hurting our taxpayers for no good reason. So I know they're all. I'd be fine with that as long as you can. You know, when you go out there, you continue to advocate for elimination of the aggregate expenditure limit. But let's open it up for some more thoughts.
I was going to suggest provide full-time funding for preschool programs in the K-12 funding formula. I mean, as much as I want it, it feels like that's something that's a little bit further away than all the other goals. So that was my suggestion, is to bump that one down and bump the Prop 203 one up there.
That's fair. Any other comments or thoughts?
One of the priorities that we haven't listed but I thought would be very relevant for our time right now is 1-5, advocate and preserve and protect voters' original intent of Prop 301. Prop 301's up for renewal. It seems as though the current legislature does not want to include our classified staff in that. And so we know, as Dr. Robert mentioned earlier, you know, teachers are less than half of what makes up a school district, and paying our classified staff is incredibly important, and it's important to protect our voters' intent, which was paying people who work in schools.
And remind me, we can't add more than 2 additional items for consideration?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 5 priorities and 2 additional items.
I'd be fine. Again, that's not like any of this is not important, but we have to make priorities, and that's part of what we're doing here. I would be fine. I think that's really great feedback, Board Member Ford, and maybe bumping out the state standardized testing one and moving the 1-5 about Prop 301 up into that spot, or maybe even, if we can, even higher, because I think that's a very timely topic. Other comments?
Board
thoughts?
Member Ramos, I appreciate your comment about the preschool funding. Like, I think on this agenda, it's critically important, but what do we think we're going to get motion on, in the next legislative session? And considering, like, this is a big election year, and, possibilities for having some real traction. So everything on there is going to be important, but, like, what do you want us to really push to get done next year? We get to do this every year and come back, but we can knock some of these off this list if we actually get the movement in the legislature with it. So.
Any other comments? If not, I'll probably try to cobble together a motion, see if we need to edit it further. So I'm going to go ahead and move that we adopt the priorities with the following revisions, removing the state standardized testing bullet point from additional items of consideration, and instead putting item 1-5 related to the preservation and continuation of the intent of Prop 301, and then additionally moving the bullet point from provide full-time funding for preschool programs down to additional items for consideration, and swap it with the continue reforming ELL models and repeal of Prop 203. Do I have any discussion, or do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you so much. I wasn't used to making my own motions, so I'm like, wait, did I have a second? Okay, it does pass, and thank you so much. And let's move the ball forward on these items. Moving on in the agenda to approval of revision of the 2023-24 school district annual expenditure budget. Colleen.
This is just a real quick recap from the public hearing that we had at the beginning of the meeting. If there's no further questions, then I think it's ready to entertain a motion.
Any questions?
Not a question, but Colleen, you have done such a thorough job with your presentations, answering our questions. I feel like we could throw any question at you. It could be like but you've just got all the answers. So I really appreciate it because I know that.
Me tonight, though.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, who's got a really good question now? But but thank you for your thorough presentations.
You're here. You probably weren't ready to do a public hearing in front of such a large group of people. So
It's the most we've ever had for the budget.
yeah,
Wow.
exactly. It's great. It's great to let people see our work. Okay, hearing no other questions, I'll take a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
Do I have a second? I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, it does pass. Thank you so much. Don't go too far. But next, we have the approval to exceed the 2023-24 M&O budget subsections.
Yes, this is pretty much a housekeeping item that goes along with that final revision of the expenditure budget for the 23-24 school year. Essentially, if this is approved tonight, it allows us to exceed those subsections within our maintenance and operations budget, as long as we don't exceed the total bottom line of our expenditure budget.
Got it. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it does pass. And staying with Colleen, we have our first reading of the policy DCA management of capital reserves. Colleen.
Yes. So we did talk a little bit about this at the work study last week as it came up in one of the updates through the budget committee work. New this year, there's always been kind of a recommended or best practice that's been out there through the Government Finance Officers Association. However, with all of the changes that the state has seen in recent years with districts and their general fund balances, which may or may not, but I think a significant part of that is due to the influx of federal ESSER COVID relief dollars for districts. With those, the Auditor General has released new requirements for this school year that districts will need to adopt policies that align to those recommendations. And so the Arizona Auditor General is pretty much using and recommending the same best practices that had already been established by the GFOA Association. It kind of hits on those three required components that we talked about last week in regards to identifying what the appropriate level is. The minimum requirement in that guidance is at least 2 months of operating expenses is held in your general fund reserve. Defining what the use is, so when you may need to access it, what is allowable use of those funds, and then how you go about replenishing them and what the timeline is for replenishment if you do need to access your fund reserves, and then the prohibited use of those using those funds for ongoing, reoccurring annual operating expenses. With that, just kind of wanted to highlight and open it up if there's any questions, because I know it's a pretty lengthy policy, and again, this is a first reading. It'll be back before the board at the June meeting. It's also been sent out to council because it didn't come through an ASBA advisory for policy adoption, so it's been sent out to our council for review. So if they have any edits or suggestions, we'll bring those back to incorporate prior to that second reading in June. But question about our general fund reserves or fund balances, we really refer to it, and this policy covers two different pieces. So There's the audited financial statements, it refers to our general fund, and that's not just our M&O budget. So those audited financial statements have other sub-funds within it that are also, have balances that are considered unrestricted. Those balances are determined at the end of the fiscal year audited financial statements and also part of the AFR preparation. So it's more of a hindsight calculation once the year has ended, what that reserve level is. There's also, in this policy refers to budgetary fund balances or budgetary reserves, and that is strictly on our accounting basis or cash basis of accounting for the district, pre-audited, and that would just be looking at our maintenance and operation fund as our general fund.
Got it. Any questions?
I was just wondering with the unrestricted GAAP fund balance of 17%, is that a number that would stay the same every year? I just didn't know if like sometimes like with inflation or anything, they might recommend a little bit more, a little less. I'm just thinking if we're putting it in policy, like.
So it's worded as a minimum. That 17% is rounded up based on 2 months operating reserves, which is that minimum. The district can always choose to carry more of a fund balance than that, but that would be the minimum. We're not at that level yet. So another important piece of this policy is that it's written as a goal. It's going to take us a while to build up to 17%. We're not there. This past year, our fund balance from our audited general fund, which again is the M&O as well as some additional sub-funds, we were sitting right around 13.5% to 14% fund reserve. So we're not there yet. It's going to take us.
You say 14%?
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of gets to what my question is why 17%? If we've been operating, pretty well, 14% reserve, why isn't, 15% a goal? I'm just trying to understand where the 17% number is. I don't want to, do something and restrict us more than what we maybe need to.
So I think it's this is my interpretation of the instructions or recommendations, requirements that are being pushed out statewide from the Auditor General's office around implementing these policies. It creates and aligns to that national standard by the National Association for Government Finance Officers. Best practice is to always have 2 months operating reserve for those unknown or unforeseen circumstances. I think I even gave the example last week of the work study for our child nutrition, which is also federally funded, and they're an enterprise operation and they're self-sustaining, self-funding, thankfully, for the district. They actually recommend 3 months operating reserve for them. And so that's not an unreasonable number. I think it's pretty standard. The number 17 is because I rounded up. Otherwise, it would have been 16.6% or 16.67 or something. So I rounded up to 17%. We can't set a target less than that because that's the minimum requirement in the recommended policy from the state. 2 months operating reserve is the equivalent of 17%. But you'll notice in the policy, I do break out and describe different levels within that 17%. So getting to kind of what I think where you're getting at is setting a level of like 10% as being like, okay, we're going to make a commitment to not go below 10%. That's kind of where we've typically been operating as a district for several years now. And then setting some criteria for if the need arose, accessing between that 10% and 17%. And what are those triggers or criteria that would allow us to do that with the importance of a replenishment plan. Also keeping in mind that part of this isn't just also thinking about, 2 months operating reserve, when would we possibly ever need to but it's the fluctuation to the last agenda item you were just discussing around the aggregate expenditure limit. And this really shows up, and this policy shows up in those questions when we're going out and financing for bonds and in ratings and other agencies looking at identifying and auditing our risk and financial stability and health of the district. And so that annual aggregate expenditure limit is just over $2 million for Osborne, and it goes up every year as our revenue control limit goes up. And so that 10% isn't enough. 17 is just enough to cover, a little bit more than enough to cover. If we ever had to implement the aggregate expenditure limit, we would want that in reserves so that we don't have to make cuts in March, April 1st, knowing that 90% of our budget is made up of people. And so that's kind of, it's all connected in that way of how those numbers are determined. The other thing to remember is that we also have an override, right? And thankfully, our support from our community has been outstanding. But if we were ever a district in that situation where our M&O override is not renewed and not continued, we would have fund reserves in place at a high enough level that would allow us to then continue with those programs for another year before going back out to the voters again. And so all of those pieces are kind of taken into account when other outside agencies are looking at districts and their risk assessment. We have some revenue pieces built into our budget that are not guaranteed year over year over year, whether they're voter authorized that need renewals or state and the state of funding in Arizona and where we're at. And so it's just that the risk is there for districts because of the way our funding and revenue formulas work.
Now, just to go off of that, and hopefully neither of those situations happen where we don't have something voted on by the voters or we hit the AEL. Now, if it did and we had to dip into those reserves for a couple months, obviously it would take a lot to build back up to that. And is there, I know that this is written as like a goal for the 17%, but at what point, like if we did get into a situation where it's just like we're unrealistically going to even get close to that because we're in and again, that's like doomsday. I'm just like thinking, what does that look like for us? Like if we're just constantly in this like, hamster wheel of trying to get there, but we're never going to get there.
I think it's determining this policy will help guide in those priorities and setting those if we have any one-time dollars that come in that don't have restricted purpose to them or immediate needs that are tied to those, making it a priority that any unforeseen one-time revenues that come in, the first thought or first filter that they're looked at is, do we need to apply them to fund reserves? Also looking at any savings, actualized savings throughout the course of the year. We talk a lot about vacancy savings that build up through the course of the year, any attrition savings that we have during turnover time, all of those pieces, that those savings build up our fund reserve. That's how we've gotten to that 13%, 14% currently, is through those savings every year. And so it does take time, and then it's that commitment of if we do have to use those fund reserves and they drop below where they're currently at, having that replenishment plan to say, okay, we are making a commitment to prioritize any actual savings or any one-time new money that we weren't, that comes in as unrestricted that we weren't needing or accounting for in other ways, that we prioritize that as building back up that reserve as that replenishment plan.
And, Colleen mentioned this earlier, but Ed, in terms of your question about going up to that 17%, we've got at least 2 more ratings calls that we're going to be doing over the next 5 years, maybe a third. And it was a direct question that we were able to say that we are bringing this policy to you. That was a contributing factor to us being able to maintain that A+ rating. So we want to be able to have the same language to utilize when we go out for our even bigger bond sale, next time in 2 years.
Got it. Sounds good. Any other questions? Okay. With that, this is a first reading, so if there are questions, there's still time for that down the road. But on this first reading, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it does pass. Moving on to our 2025 Budget Committee recommendations. I kind of wish we had those folks who are all in the room were here to hear us on this one, so I'm really excited about it. Colleen.
Yes. So again, we went over in detail last week at the work study what the Budget Committee recommendations are, so I'm not going to go over in as much detail again tonight. But just also a huge thank you to all of our budget committee members. Several of them are here with us, and our representatives on budget committee from OEA. And so just a huge thank you to all of their volunteer time that they put into this recommendation. And a lot of hard work. It's always a difficult season when budget committee starts off with a deficit. It's really easy to dream how to spend money. It's another thing when you're having conversations on how to cut expenditures in order to find savings. And so a lot of hard work went into this, so thank you all. The recommendation is built in with the anticipation of 2% inflationary funding from the state. We know that we're capped at a 2% inflationary funding annually from the state, and so this is all built in with that assumption that that will happen, knowing that we don't have a state approved budget for next year yet from the legislature. So just want to make that clear. The budget committee recommendation is to include a 2% salary increase for all of our employee groups in the district, along with one-time retention payments, utilizing the remaining balance in our ESSER funds that are sunsetting and must be spent by September 30. The recommendation is that that retention stipend be $1,250 per full-time FTE, and we've defined over the several years that we've done retention stipends to staff that a full-time FTE is any staff member that works more than 35 hours per week, because we have many positions at our sites that are 7 hours a day because they that are considered full-time, but they're 7 hours a day because of kid contact time in need of those positions. And any staff that then work less than 35 hours per week, that amount will be prorated according to their FTE. The plan is that that payment, the eligibility for that would be returning to work for your assigned work calendar for the 24-25 school year, and that would be paid out right away in August. We need to pay it out as soon as possible because we are up against that deadline of being able to submit final revisions for ESSER 3 and then have all those funds fully expended by September 30.
Wonderful. Any questions? Just everybody get the word out. Assuming we pass this here in a second, that retention stipends, we appreciate having our teachers and staff in the districts. Retention stipends are coming, and we are scraping every last dime out of the ESSER money before September 30th to get more money to our teachers and staff. So spread the word because we want to keep those wonderful retention numbers that we've been seeing. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. It does pass. Thank you, Colleen. I appreciate it. I guess one more for you. Approval of the FY25 placement pay schedules. Getting the nod. You're getting the nod. Dr. Woodland's like, you got it. You got it. Okay.
Okay. So along with kind of this whole theme of the budget package tonight, there's no adjustments to the FY25 salary placement schedules. The 2% increase that you just approved for staff is not going to be an enhancement to the schedules. It's going to be just for those returning staff members, an increase in pay. So the schedule values are remaining the same for the placement schedules. There were a couple adjustments to the schedules with the positions by title that were listed on schedules. They were adjusted to account for positions that are no longer going to be in the district for the upcoming school year due to some of the reductions in ESSER positions that we had discussed previously in previous meetings. So if there's no questions, I recommend approving the FY25 salary schedules as presented.
Great. Any questions?
No questions, but I would like to see us look at what a step salary schedule would look like. I know that you gave a rationale for that at our work study. I am disappointed that we're not, I know with funding and stuff, it's difficult to, spread that money out, but I'd love to see us, continually increase our salary schedule to encourage people to come in. I do think, I can look at this and say, okay, here's what I would make if I was to be in the district for next school year. However, I do think that there is a lot more clarity when looking at a stepped salary schedule, not just for new hires, but also people within the district. And so I just want to put that on the record that that's something I would like us to really consider. And I know that's something that I've brought up in the past too.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I'll motion to approve the FY25 placement pay schedules.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, it does pass. I think we're letting you off the hook now, Colleen. Thank you so much.
Colleen.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our information discussion items, board development. We got the NSBA Cube conference coming up, just as an FYI.
Yeah, that's just an FYI that's on there where I always put what future conferences may be coming up. Our further piece that we're going to be working on, the book that we've ordered, takes a little bit longer to go local sometimes, but I'd rather go local than just go Amazon right from the start. So our books are literally in town. We found out just after 4:30 that the books are available, but with everything here, we didn't think it was prudent to run out, so we'll have them here. Lisa's going to go over and pick them up from Changing Hands in the morning. So we will, they don't open till 10. So we'll have them here. Either you can come in and pick them up at any time that we're open, or you can wait until our next meeting. I'll arrange to get them to you guys somehow so that we can, perhaps at our next meeting, we can start the conversation. So when you
sounds
get
great.
the book, it's going to also have, you're able to access the strategic plan off the website, but we'll have the book with a printout of the strategic plan in it.
Wonderful. Okay, moving on to reflections and feedback on the meeting. We'll start with Board Member Ford.
Thank you. I'm sure my colleagues will talk a lot about the wonderful celebrations that we were able to have this evening. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to our hardworking staff here in Osborne. We're getting toward the end of the school year, and we always reflect on how the year went. And teaching is a difficult job. Working in schools are difficult jobs. And thank you for all you do. Thank you so much. I want to reflect tonight on our Arizona legislature. I'm so happy that as a board we were able to come together and stand against HCR 2060, which has no place here in Arizona. I want to discuss ESA voucher reform. Our legislature will soon be passing a budget. And to our legislature and to our governor, I want to say that we do not have a budget if we continue to fund ESA vouchers. Over 77,000 Arizona students have ESA vouchers. And make no mistake about it, ESA vouchers hurt public schools. Arizona is currently 49th in per pupil funding. We are only better than Idaho by $137 per pupil. The average ESA voucher is $500 more than the average public school student receives, which is not equitable. In addition, 75% of vouchers go to students already enrolled in private schools and homeschools. Students who have never been to public schools. These are handouts for the wealthiest Arizonans who can already afford private school and homeschool tuition. 77% of voucher users live in the most wealthy zip codes in Arizona. The ESA voucher program is a program that is riddled with fraud, expenses on items that are not related to education, and without reforming this out-of-control ESA voucher program, we do not have a budget. We know that ESA vouchers are going to cost Arizona taxpayers $800 million this fiscal year alone. So to our legislature, while you are going into budget negotiations, please reform this out-of-control, fraudulent scheme. It is hurting Arizona, it's hurting our taxpayers, and more than that, it's hurting Arizona public school students. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Ramos.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you for that. It's hard to follow that. Yes, so reflecting on the celebrations, as I was on my way here, I was really sad that I missed last month's meeting, but I was feeling horribly sick. I even called off the next day, which I hate doing that. But I'm glad and happy to be here, and I'm glad that I was happy that I was able to be here for our celebrations. Last year was the first time I got to witness these celebrations, and I was trying really hard not to cry. I did shed a tear or two. It's just so amazing to see how dedicated our staff is to our school district. Putting it into perspective, I was telling board member Greenberg, I was like, 20 years. 20 years ago, I was graduating high school. So while these amazing staff members have been here for 20, 25, 30 years, I was starting my college journey, and then after college, going on and figuring out what my career was going to be. And these people were here, these amazing individuals. So I think that's really, really amazing. So yeah, and then thank you to the food. Like, that was amazing. Every year, it's just so great to see the amazing things or food items that our kids are exposed to as well. We don't see that at the other school districts, and working for Phoenix Union, and I see what kind of food our kiddos get. And I'm like, I really wish they had healthier options, but this is really amazing that we get to serve on this board that is continue supporting the fresh foods program and buying locally, which it just shows us so much, and money stays here, and hopefully money that will no longer go to vouchers and that will start coming to our schools. But really reflecting on how our board came together to pass a resolution against HCR 2060. And so I remember, like board member Peralta said, walking out. I was not in middle school, I was in college. But I remember walking out and not caring because I was just so passionate about it. And I've been lucky that I was born in this country, but most of my mom's side of the family was not, and I've seen the struggles. And not only the struggles with that side of the family, but also the struggles with my now wife. So at that point, we were just dating, and she was not born in this country. And going to apartment complexes and being turned away because she did not have proper identification. And so while it impulsed me to buy a house, and I'm happy that I was able to do that for us, like I said, I also know a lot of people that left. And I don't want to see that change in our community. And I am thankful that my fellow board members, that are superintendent, and I know our staff all stands with us to make sure that our families are protected. That's all for me. Thank you.
It's hard to follow both of you. I moved here in 2015, and when I first moved here, I was like, I'm gonna come get some warm weather and then be off back to Michigan or somewhere else. It gets really hard though. Every year, my husband and I, we look at it, we see what the legislature does with our funding, and I look at the salaries that we would be making in Michigan right now, and it's really hard. We love being here. We love this community. We just love Arizona. But it's hard to feel good about what the future looks like, not only for us as teachers, but also for our kids. I see, sitting up here, and you all know you're, in the schools every day. We are doing really great things with a very limited amount of funding and support that we have from our state. And it makes it very difficult to envision what that future looks like when every year I'm more hopeful, I'm trying to be hopeful, and then it's just like something else happens, something else comes up. I read a statistic recently that said that 40% of Arizona educators leave within their first 4 years. And when I read that, I think a lot of them probably just leave education in general, but I also wondered how many of them leave and go off to other states. I have a lot of friends that have either left the profession entirely or they have moved to other states. They wanted to be in Arizona, but they just couldn't make it work. I know in our community, most of our housing here is not affordable for a majority of our staff. And we want our educators to be able to live and work in the communities that they're in. We want them to send their kids to us, but if they can't afford to live here, they can't do that. What does that look like for our future of our district? So I think we've got a lot of mountains ahead of us. We're surrounded by mountains in Arizona, but our legislature in particular creates even more mountains that don't need to be there, and nobody likes hiking them. So let's really try to work together and push our legislature to do the right thing. Things like SB 270 or 1070 2.0, if you want to call it that. These are scare tactics, but they're very real and they are very scary. And it's disheartening. I'm frustrated. I want to be in Arizona and not feel frustrated year after year. And I'm proud to serve with all of my fellow board members because I know that you all are here doing what's best for kids, even when that mountain is here in front of us. And to all of you out there too, you're doing the same. So thank you.
Absolutely. Board Member Peralta.
A lot to follow after 3 people. I will start with this though, and this is just a little bit of a funny because Violetta said 20 years ago I was graduating college, so I had to go and do the math. Mind you, I'm not certified to teach math, so my numbers might be
In
wrong.
high school, not college.
Oh, high school, sorry. That just makes me feel a little bit. Yeah, no, I was in 4th grade when some of these people started here in this district. So I know some people were just like, "Did you just say 4th grade out in the crowd?" I'm like, "Yeah, no," but there's 2 things I heard tonight that I wanted to reflect on. I mean, there's a lot of things I could reflect on, but yeah, I'm going to go to 2 hopefully positive things. And the first one is Dr. Robert said it. I believe it was you said it. We're a destination district. But I also heard someone say something that was like, that is the opposite of what Dr. Robert said, but still a good thing. We're a hidden secret in Phoenix. We are a district that people want to come to. I mean, face it, we were attacked by by Tom Horn for doing something that people want. We're obviously doing the right things here, and it's evident in the fact that we have teachers and staff members who have been here for 30 years. I wasn't even born yet. They were here working in our district, and they've stayed here. They've chosen to for a reason, and that is just our track record. I mean, and I can go off on all the different things that we have available for our students that want to not just make us a destination district, but an example district, not just for our state, but for our nation. I'm going to start with our amazing nutrition department headed by Corey back there. Very few other districts I can say have an amazing nutrition department like we do that makes almost everything from scratch. That has people, and I've heard it, they were out at dinner and they were like, we're going to try this cucumber salad. Oh, we're going to remake it for our students now, for this too. That is something we need to get out there because that's not just destination, that is example. We need to be both a little hidden secret here in central Phoenix, but we also want to make sure we're an oasis. Think about our transportation department, the fact we will have a fleet of electric buses who drive safely through our neighborhood, and I bring that up because this morning I was almost hit by a charter school bus trying to pull out my driveway. I'm like, really? The bus passes by my house every morning from Osborne, just smile and wave every morning. Very kind, very slow, very safe. Our teachers, we have one of the best educations that we could give students in the state of Arizona, in my opinion. Our dual language department, our staff, everyone, it is a friendly district. And our awards tonight exemplified that. The fact that we as a board are taking a stand against things that are, without a doubt, immoral and unethical. People want to see us do that. So I'm proud of our district. The future may not be the brightest, but I know the more we stand up here and we fight back and we say the things we want to say, we speak with our heart, and we make the right moves when we're fighting against it, we're going to do great. So, yeah.
Thank you, Board Member Peralta. Now I got to follow you. Oh, my gosh. I'll try to be somewhat brief as much as I can. Food was wonderful. I'd say that cucumber salad, better than Bacanora. You let him know. I told him you said that. I loved the celebrations and what was in the admin reports about the trees. It was just so cool to see at all of our, I think almost all of our schools, we're planting trees and the kids getting involved and the grants that we were getting. And that was just, it was so cool to see that happening and read about it and see it. Our retirees is just phenomenal to see people, just the longevity in the district, the very real emotion and tears and love that people have for these kids. I love sending my kids in this district because I know people, it's not just a job. You don't just punch in, you love what you do. And that's what we have here in Osborne. You Make the Difference Awards, this might be my favorite meeting all year, every year, because we get to recognize not just people in our, who are working here, but also people in the community, parents like today, community members who are doing things, staff who don't get recognized as much as we'd like, who get to do that. Also really enjoy the ASBA, gives us an opportunity to show what our thoughts are, what our values are, and have a little bit of a platform to advocate more broadly than just our district, because so much is tied to the state. And I spoke with our state representative yesterday, who came to our neighborhood association meeting, talking about how the budget's in a has a shortfall. It is absolutely a manufactured shortfall. Because the ESAs have blown a hole into the district inappropriately and inequitably, as Board Member Ford mentioned, and because there been tax giveaways for people who don't need them, they've created a shortfall in what otherwise we'd be flush with money to pay our teachers and staff more. These are things that can be fixed. These are things the legislature did in the past that should be reeled back, and that investment be right here in our community, right here in our public schools, because we know that strong public schools mean strong communities. And that's really what's at issue here, and that's what's being threatened. So absolutely, we will do our part in advocating to the state legislature, and ask that anybody listening do their part as well. And HCR 2060, I'm really glad we could be on record and we could add our voice to opposing that. Getting me nostalgic over here, thinking about where I was. I was not certainly not in fourth grade or middle school or even college. I was teaching and teaching government at the time up in Winter Rock on the Navajo Nation, and having debates and looking at the language, and leaving the school, driving down to Phoenix to be there at the rallies, to be there at the Capitol to oppose it, and trying to do my part through there, and having to explain to a group of 100% Navajo kids. Well, my time's almost up, I think. I'll wrap it up, I promise. Having to explain to kids about what racial profiling is and how that is a very real thing that is going to happen under 1070. So really appreciate the opportunity to express our values in that way and the love today. So I think my time is up, Erica, and I will move on. So Dr. Robert, you're fine.
We start the year with welcoming and end the year with celebrations. My reflections on tonight's meeting are just about the people that we got to celebrate today. But one thing really, really struck me as we were going through some of these categories, when looking at the 20-year employees, that's a long period of time. 2 out of the 5 members of 20-year employees were classified employees. Both of our 25-year employees were classified members. At 30 years, 4 out of the 5 were classified members. Our retirees, 2 out of 4 retiring here within the district. In the You Make the Difference Awards, half of them, 3 out of the 6 were classified employees. So out of the 22 people we celebrated, more than half of those 13 were classified staff members. So it was a wonderful day of celebration. We're going to be coming out very soon by the end of the week with announcements of who our 2024 Teachers of the Year are. But we take that time and we celebrate our Teachers of the Year, and we're a school district. We're about teaching, but we're 350 people that do work for our community, and it was wonderful to see our classified staff recognized and celebrated so heavily tonight.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Robert. And with that, we are, just make sure, we are adjourned. Thank you. Wait, I'm sorry. My apologies. Future agenda items. Okay. Board Member Ford.
No future agenda items for me. I just want to wish everybody a very safe and wonderful summer.
Thank you, Board Member Ramos.
On the future agenda, just a question. This came up at a meeting that I was at Phoenix Union. The Zella scores, just how are they shared with like the 8th graders who are leaving and going to their high schools? So I know that so if you could just send me that information so that I'm more aware and can help hopefully with processes, because I know that our ELD IL was talking about how frustrating it is to get the kids into the proper classes. And she would love to have that done before the school year starts so that we're not scrambling. And I'm sure that's an issue at many of our schools. So I just want to make sure that hopefully we can, if we don't have a process in place that's early enough, that we can maybe figure out something.
Got it. Board Member Greenberg.
I might have an answer for you on that one, but not for Osborne, but in Phoenix Union. I don't have any right now. Thank you.
Okay. Board Member Peralta.
Nothing at the moment.
And nothing for me. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful summer if I don't see you. And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Did we get oh, perfect.
Yes, don't let me walk out with that.
No, I
Don't
will
do
not.
that.
Oh my
You know,
gosh,
not
what the
turn things
heck?
back into.
I'm not worried about all this tomorrow. Oh, I was gonna get signatures.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, you too. On the 30th of the light, the hawk light.
Yeah.
I don't know when he's planning to do it. I know you might be busy that day. We could do it first thing in the morning. You know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hot on the 30th. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I need to. I know that we've got like multiple days and like all day long.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
PD. So
we could do 7:30. I don't know. Maybe the city doesn't get up that early.
Yeah.
I'm an early bird when it comes to like, because to me, I'm like, let me get my community stuff done before the work day, you know. But that's not for the city. And if you can't make it, you can make it. It's not a big deal.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I don't know that I can commit. You know, I can be there. Certainly can't commit other people. People are gonna be like, as soon as we end, we start.
That's fine. If it's me and another board member and the city, yeah. You know what I mean? I'll probably give my kids.
Yep.
You know, something like that.
Sounds good. But we're gonna do a Friday morning call, right? Or Friday afternoon call.
Yeah, I think Friday.
Yeah.